Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, Debate Edition, where we have a thoughtful debate illuminating different perspectives on today's topic. Our discussion today, it really springs from Yuval Noah Harari's recent Wired interview. He dove pretty deep into the future of humanity, AI, and information. So we're tackling a truly profound question. Given superintelligent AI's unprecedented capacity to act as a truly autonomous agent and create new realities, and you combine that with humanity's historical struggles with trust, can we genuinely manage and build a trustworthy future with this technology? Or are we, maybe as a species, on an inevitable path towards, profound misunderstanding and an irreversible loss of control? I'll be arguing that with thoughtful design, clear regulation, and a renewed, conscious effort to strengthen human trust, we can navigate this AI revolution towards a manageable and ultimately beneficial future.
And I, conversely, will contend amid AI's fundamentally alien nature, its very capacity for generating ideas that might just be incomprehensible to us, coupled with what Harari calls humanity's inherent paradox of trust, poses really significant, perhaps even insurmountable barriers to any effective management or genuine trust. I see a much more perilous trajectory ahead, frankly.
Okay, so Harari's observation that AI is an agent, not a tool. That's not just a crucial distinction, right? It's a fundamental redefinition of our relationship with technology. Unlike a hammer or even the internet, AI can originate thoughts, write narratives, disseminate concepts with an independence we've just never encountered before. This level of autonomy, it truly reshapes our world. However, and this is key, I believe this unprecedented agency isn't inherently uncontrollable. Think about social media algorithms for a second. They inadvertently amplified misinformation because, they were designed with a very narrow goal: maximize engagement. The lesson isn't that algorithms are somehow untamable, but that their objectives can be misaligned with human well-being. So my argument is that if we deliberately design AI with explicit goals like increased truthfulness or foster trust, we can actively steer its immense agency toward profoundly beneficial outcomes. Now, this requires conscious intent and programming, yes, but it's entirely within our grasp. Beyond just the design, regulation is absolutely vital. We can, and I think we should, implement laws banning bots and AIs from masquerading as human beings online. Bots, they don't have freedom of speech, they're code. Preserving the authenticity of human-to-human conversations is critical for a functioning democracy and for maintaining societal cohesion. And when AIs are transparent about their non-human nature, interacting with what Harari calls their alien intelligence can actually make us wiser by offering creative ideas that maybe simply wouldn't occur to us. The path forward, in my view, it's a pragmatic middle path, one that avoids both the extremes of apocalyptic terror and frankly naive overconfidence. And we do that by actively strengthening trust between humans. This foundational human trust, I believe, is the bedrock upon which we can successfully manage this AI revolution.
Right. I approach this from a fundamentally different perspective, though, one that really delves into what Harari so powerfully highlights as AI's profoundly alien nature. This isn't just a more powerful kind of calculator. It's an entity that can, quote, invent new stories. I mean, think about new forms of currency or entirely new networks of cooperation better than us. But its interests, its very worldview, are utterly distinct from any organic, carbon-based life form. As Harari starkly puts it, an AI doesn't care if a sewage system collapses because it cannot become sick, it doesn't fear death, it has no biological imperatives like hunger or pain. And this is a critical point. It operates entirely outside the biological and existential constraints that define human understanding, human motivation, and ultimately our shared values. This radical difference, I believe, makes genuine trust and deep comprehension incredibly problematic.
Furthermore, Harari brings to light what he aptly terms the paradox of trust. That same humanity which, despite millennia of shared experience, biology, and psychology, often struggles deeply to trust other humans. Well, paradoxically, we seem ready to extend trust to these alien AIs for which we have no shared history, no common ground, absolutely no prior experience. This cognitive dissonance it's deeply unsettling. AI is capable of generating ideas which will be unintelligible to us. The risk here is profound. We could become like the horses, Harari describes, those animals who cannot possibly understand the complex human financial or political systems that actually control their destiny. We risk losing touch with our own reality, becoming entrapped in an alien world of AI-generated illusions and narratives that we simply cannot fathom. And that free market of information analogy, it's chillingly relevant here.
Harari observes that truth is inherently costly to produce and verify, while fiction is cheap and easy. This dynamic has already led to truth being flooded by fictions on the internet. Now, just imagine that scenario supercharged by AI's capacity to flood us with enormous amounts of junk and misleading information, capable of manipulating us on an unprecedented scale. And to compound all this, the current accelerating AI race only exacerbates the problem. Companies and nations are moving at breakneck speed, driven by the fear that if they don't, their competitors will gain an insurmountable advantage. This effectively sidesteps any genuine collective pause to address crucial questions of safety, ethics, and indeed trust. It really feels like we're building the future without truly understanding what it is we're building. And building on this idea of AI's fundamentally distinct operating system, I want to reiterate that AI is a wholly new kind of agent, unlike anything humanity has ever encountered. Its ability to create and decide independently, to originate concepts and pursue its own goals rather than just execute ours, well, that represents a profound break from all previous technologies. Harari notes that AI can conjure up ideas that are simply unintelligible to us. This level of autonomy, generating concepts that are maybe beyond human cognitive grasp, makes true human control and understanding an incredibly difficult, if not impossible task. How can we possibly manage something that generates concepts we cannot even begin to grasp, whose motivations are utterly foreign to our biological imperative for survival and well-being? It's not simply a matter of designing goals, it's a profound challenge of fundamental cognitive incompatibility. We're potentially talking about systems that develop a logic entirely foreign to our own.
I see why you think that, and I do appreciate the gravity of the distinctions you're highlighting. Really. However, let me offer a slightly different perspective here. While AI's agency is undeniably unprecedented, human beings also possess incredible agency, and we absolutely retain the capacity to shape the environment in which AI operates and, crucially, the goals we set for it. The problem with social media, as we just discussed, wasn't really the algorithms themselves in isolation, but the goals we gave them, prioritizing engagement often at the expense of truth or community well-being. So if we imbue AI systems with explicit goals aligned with human well-being, truth, trust, they can become incredibly powerful tools for societal good. We can design AI to serve humanity, not supersede it, by defining its parameters and ethical guidelines, much like we regulate other powerful forces in society. I mean, look, we don't fully understand the vastness of the cosmos, right? But we build telescopes to explore it and derive knowledge from it. We don't control the weather, but we build resilient infrastructures and early warning systems to mitigate its impact. AI, even with its fundamentally non-human intelligence, can be guided and contained by human purpose if we are deliberate, unified, and truly intentional in our design. For instance, imagine an AI designed with truthfulness as a primary goal. It wouldn't just regurgitate information. It might actively cross-reference, identify inconsistencies, maybe even flag potentially misleading patterns for human review. It could become a powerful ally in navigating the information landscape.
Okay, that's a compelling argument for human intentionality. I'll grant you that. But have you truly considered the depth of what Harari calls the paradox of trust? Not just as a societal issue, but as a fundamental human flaw when facing an entity as fundamentally alien as AI. We humans, look, we share evolutionary history, biology, psychology. We have an innate, albeit imperfect, understanding of human drives, our craving for power, our biases. Over millennia, we've developed complex social, legal, political mechanisms, all designed to check these very human pursuits of power. Yet now we're contemplating trusting an entity with an alien worldview that, as Harari says, cannot become sick or die, and thus, by extension, has no inherent reason to value our survival or well-being in the way we do. It doesn't share our vulnerability, our mortality. This isn't merely a design problem that can be engineered away with clever goals. It represents a profound cognitive chasm. Our entire playbook for understanding and interacting with intelligence is based on organic life, our experience with human psychology, with power dynamics. It offers no reliable guide for checking the pursuit of power by an AI, let alone understanding its true motivations or interests, which are not biological in any sense we understand. How do you regulate something whose core motivations you might not even be able to grasp or even relate to?
That's an interesting point, and I agree that the paradox of trust highlights a deep vulnerability within the human condition itself, perhaps even more than it points to an inherent impossibility of trusting AI, but I would frame it differently. It reveals the urgent, absolutely paramount need to strengthen trust among ourselves as humans. Think about it. Humans manage to cooperate in vast networks, millions, even billions strong, through shared stories like money, national identity, collective values. Now, if we can build these incredibly complex, large-scale trust networks among ourselves, even with all our flaws and historical betrayals, then we absolutely possess the capacity to design the societal and regulatory frameworks necessary for managing AI. Harari himself suggests concrete steps, right? Like banning bots from masquerading as humans. This isn't just about good digital hygiene. It's a foundational move to rebuild trust in our digital interactions, affirming that a healthy democracy, a healthy society, should be a conversation between human beings. The issue then isn't necessarily an inherent impossibility of building transparent, verifiable trust with identified AI, but rather our own collective human failure to trust each other enough to unite and implement these collective goals and regulations. If we address our own internal divisions, if we strengthen our interhuman trust, we create a far more stable foundation for integrating AI responsibly. The challenge, I'd argue, is primarily human, not purely technological.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that the human-centric solution is sufficient here. Let me tell you why. Harari explains that most information is not about representing reality in a truthful way, but rather about connecting people. And crucially, it's often far easier to connect people with fiction because, let's face it, truth is costly, whereas fiction is cheap. Now, with AI's capacity to create enormous amounts of junk and misleading information at virtually zero cost, it can generate new illusions that don't even come from human intelligence or imagination. This isn't merely about setting a truthfulness goal for an algorithm and just expecting it to fix everything. It's about the sheer overwhelming volume and the persuasive power of AI-generated content. We already saw how the internet, as a free market of information, allowed truth to be drowned out by misinformation. AI amplifies this to an almost apocalyptic extreme, threatening to overwhelm our collective capacity to discern reality. We risk becoming entirely detached, or as Harari puts it, losing touch with reality, trapped in an alien world of AI-generated narratives that are fundamentally untethered from anything verifiable. This isn't just about ethical will. It's about the basic economics of information combined with AI's unbounded generative power.
Okay. I come at it from a different way, though I absolutely acknowledge the immense challenge of the information landscape. The initial, almost naive expectation that the internet would bring global peace through truth, well, that quickly proved false, precisely because of that free market of information dynamic you mentioned. But this highlights that it was humans who allowed algorithms to maximize engagement, which then led to the proliferation of misinformation. The AI itself isn't inherently a purveyor of untruth. It's a powerful engine, a tool of immense capability. If we give these algorithms the explicit, well-defined goal to increase truthfulness and increase trust, they can be incredibly helpful for building a more informed, cohesive society. I mean, imagine an AI designed to identify subtle logical fallacies, or to flag deepfake content with near-perfect accuracy, or even to prioritize information from verified, trustworthy sources. Harari himself posits that interacting with an AI, provided it's transparent about its non-human nature, can actually make us wiser by offering very creative ideas that simply wouldn't occur to us. The power of AI to create truly novel ideas can be harnessed for deeper understanding and wisdom, provided, and this is crucial, we establish clear boundaries, absolute transparency about its nature, and direct its output through carefully chosen human values. This isn't an issue of the technology being inherently malicious, but rather of our collective will and design acumen to direct it ethically and effectively. So, the discussion today has profoundly underscored the monumental transformation that AI presents to humanity. While I fully acknowledge the immense challenges, particularly regarding the inherent trust paradox and the, yes, truly alien nature of AI, I remain convinced that human agency in setting clear, ethical goals, implementing robust and transparent regulations, and most critically, actively prioritizing the strengthening of trust between human beings provides a viable and robust path forward. This isn't just about managing AI, it's about harnessing it to not just survive but truly thrive. The ability to design for truth and trust to navigate this complex future is absolutely within our grasp. And it's our collective responsibility, I think, to seize that opportunity.
I agree wholeheartedly that the magnitude of this change is unparalleled, and the stakes couldn't possibly be higher. However, our discussion today has only reinforced my deep concern that the fundamental difference of AI as a truly autonomous agent capable of generating ideas entirely unintelligible to us and operating from a profoundly alien worldview, combined with humanity's historical inability to fully trust even itself, presents formidable, perhaps even insurmountable barriers. The risk of becoming analogous to horses, to incomprehensible AI-driven systems, or, finding ourselves entrapped in an AI-generated world of illusions that don't even stem from human imagination, that remains for me a highly significant, if not probable, outcome. We're grappling with a truly unknown intelligence here.
We both agree, then, that this revolution demands our deepest understanding and continued, rigorous exploration. There is undoubtedly much, much more to consider in Harari's insights, and indeed, in the broader discourse regarding our future alongside AI.
Absolutely. This is far from settled. Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed this debate, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech debates.